Well, good evening. It's Monday, November 18th, 2024. Welcome to episode 87 of Porterhouse and Teal Live. And we here in our neck of the woods are experiencing some very nice temperatures, fall temperatures, somewhere in the range of about anywhere from 40 to about maybe 60 in the daytime. However, it's supposed to be cold this evening, right? Down to around 34-ish.
It is supposed to be getting around 34.
Mm-hmm.
And he says it's a nice temperature. Well, it's nice temperature if you're moving fast. For me, I'm not.
Right. Yeah. If you're out doing stuff, then, that's really great working temperature. But, when you're waking up and the house isn't warm, it's not so great. So we've actually been, burning wood in the fireplace for about the last week or so, almost every day, just to take the chill off in the house. And starting to get some rain, which is nice. I'm really looking forward to things coming to a close as far as summer and the fire season. Things are starting to green up a little bit out there, and that's always a good sign.
Of course, there was a little event that you got to go to.
Yes, there was. Yesterday, in fact, I got a phone call from my son-in-law, and he said, "Hey, can you come over, out back of where his property is, because one of his neighbors started a fire. They were out doing some burning, and this time of year they lift the burn restriction, and we're able to go out and burn things as far as like burn piles and whatnot. So somebody had an escape control burn yesterday and probably burned about 2.5 acres or so. But I was able to grab my stuff and went over there, and I got a few licks in. There was still some open line, but I got there about the time the fire department showed up, and a bunch of the neighbors were out there beating on the perimeter of the fire. So we got it contained. But yeah, I guess fire season's over, right?
I was driving into town and I was looking off to my side and I was thinking, wow, that fire looks like really close to our daughter's house. And as I was driving, I thought, okay, well, maybe it doesn't look quite as close, but it's still within the vicinity of it. And then, of course, when I came home, Eric was on the phone with Eric Jr.
Yeah.
And of course, they were talking about the fire. So
yeah,
I had to get the details.
Yeah, it was no big deal. It happens, and typically what happens here is if it doesn't escape off your property, CAL FIRE's not going to bill you. But if it winds up coming off of your property, control burn, you could be held liable for, suppression costs. And this was contained within his property, so I'm assuming that it won't be any issue or whatever. But it happens. It's that time of year still. There's green grass, but there's still the dry grass. It'll burn if you get a little wind behind it. But I hope everybody's having a great week. We've been having a very lovely week, and I see we got a few people in the house here. London Pickering's in the house, so good evening. Hope you're well.
London.
Yep. Bill Zegley in the house, Dean Mullis, and Bill Warner. How are all of you guys?
I'd like to say, how are all of you also?
Yeah.
I'm not going to list all the names.
Yeah. So that's awesome. And, I just wanted to start off and say that, I don't know about all of you guys, but I know from my perspective, it feels a bit like things are starting to get back to a little bit of a pre-COVID flow, if you will. I think the optimism that existed prior to the last 4 years has in some ways returned for a lot of us. Some people, it hasn't been nearly as optimistic, I suppose. And I have heard that some of the rich elite liberals have already fled the country in fear from this new totalitarian regime that's about ready to, occupy the White House. So I don't exactly know what their fears are, but I suppose that's great for them, right?
I say bye-bye.
Yeah. But what are the rest of us to do? What are we going to do living here under this new oppressive, government? What do you think the rest of us are supposed to do? We can't just hop in our jet and go to another place and burn up a bunch of...
You don't have a jet out back? I thought that was our jet.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about the possibility of leaving, and I believe that we both came to an agreement that we wanted to stay and hold our grounds, our families here, and we can afford, right now, we can afford the things that California has to toss out there for us. So that's my feelings, is that
Right.
I like my house. It's actually, in all the places that we've lived, this is my favorite place. And even though it's too big for us, it does provide room in the event that anybody needs to come and stay with us.
Right.
But we also have the property, much like COVID, didn't really affect us much because we had enough land that we could go out and walk around and not have neighbors right up on us and throw a fit because we didn't have a mask on or whatnot. And so I still feel that way about this place.
Right. Well, I mean, you can either cut and run or you can stay. And it seems like the liberals who are throwing a fit, they've decided to cut and run. But what's interesting to me is that so many people, within the last few years, in fact, just a couple of weeks ago, Joe Biden himself and the entire Democratic establishment, along with the media, were saying that Donald Trump was an existential threat to democracy, and he was somehow aligned with Nazism. But recently, he's been very conciliatory in his defeat, and he almost actually seemed quite happy and relieved when they met this past week at the White House. Did you happen to catch a glance of that meeting that they had, Rebecca?
I saw the picture of them. I didn't actually get to hear anything. I don't know if there was I don't know if the meeting was vocalized where you could hear it, but I saw the picture of them, and I would agree that Joe Biden looked happy sitting with Trump.
Yeah.
He was like, "Ha, you guys kicked me out of office. Then time to pay back." Right.
Yeah. No, I London says that he's seen our jet, so I guess we're not hiding the elite, the elitism that we have. We're part of the rich crowd, I suppose. But that's pretty funny. But anywho, check this out. If you haven't seen the video, look at this, man. Look how happy Joe Biden is. He's like ear to ear, man. Like he's just kicked
to Joe and Jill, this happy maybe ever. You know what this smile is right here, and this smile right here? That's the smile of karma. That's the smile of revenge. See, they pushed out this old man right here for Kamala Harris to be the Democrat nominee, and then this God-fearing patriot absolutely destroyed her in the election. And you think these two might be a little bit bitter about that? You think they might be a little bit bitter? They look like they're celebrating the Super Bowl watching Trump win the election. Look at this handshake. Look at this handshake right here. Trump even goes underhand, showing respect to Biden as the sitting president. A very humble move. And I got to say, the optics of this are incredible. We've got a cackling fire. My research has told me that is not a gas fireplace. That is a real wood-burning fireplace. You can hear the cackling in the video. This is a bromance that was always meant to be. These are two men that ultimately became united in one cause, and that was stopping Kamala Harris from becoming president. And anyone who tells you that these two don't secretly enjoy each other's company, if you saw them together yesterday after what they did to Biden by pushing him out, he's the happiest man on earth to watch Trump win. And frankly, everything about this is 100% hilarious.
Yeah, I think that's kind of fun to see Biden just smiling and his wife standing there and they're just smiling. And I don't know, there's people who have speculated that Biden actually probably voted for Trump. Do you think that there's a possibility of that? I mean, he was wearing he wore the Trump hat and the whole thing, right?
Yeah, I would say he probably did.
Yeah, there was a lot of symbolism there. Interesting symbolism where she showed up to vote and she was wearing like a red dress. And, I mean, was there something behind that? I don't know. But, generally speaking, they're going to kind of wear their colors. And in that meeting that I just had up on the screen, Biden was wearing a purple tie. So, I mean, people have speculated that he's crossing over to the red side. So I don't know. It's kind of funny and interesting. But, he was such a threat. And now there's this sense of somehow unity, I suppose. But
yeah, I think it's a pretty awesome picture of him.
Yeah. Hey, good evening, Hogs. Good to see you this evening. And we got some tinfoil hat comments here. Let's see what we got here. It says, here's a tinfoil hat thing. Does anyone else think that the bright red dress that Jill is wearing wasn't a message? Yeah, that's what I was just speaking of. It very well could be. I don't know. It seems like she wouldn't have wore that color for a particular reason, but I know she's probably not too happy with what happened to the Bidens in this whole thing, And And I could understand why they'd be pissed, you know, they kind of got fucked over on that deal.
Absolutely.
But good riddance, as far as I can say. Yeah, no love lost, quite honestly.
It was time for him to go because, you know, mentally he was slipping.
Yeah,
but,
he's burnt. I think the thing that is most disturbing to most people in this country is just the willingness and the amount of lying that occurred on his behalf and the desire to cover up something that everybody else could see. I think it was very much the same with the election of 2020. I think it was very much the same with everything that was happening during COVID, everything that was happening during the BLM riots. Everybody could see this, that were thinking people. But when you expressed something that went against the narrative of the establishment, you were told to shut up. You were told that your voice didn't, you know, no, that's not the way it's going to go down. And I'm enthusiastic about the fact that the incoming administration is very much unapologetic about the things that they're intending on doing. Mm-hmm. They're gonna get their agenda through if, in fact, Trump can get into the office. And I'm still, you know, wanting to see that happen without anything happening untoward, in other words. But let me cover tonight's roadmap. We're going to talk a little bit about what we've been doing here on the homestead, give you a little bit of an update. I've got a couple of questions, biochar questions from Q&A segment, liberal or conservative. Did you know? And a clip of the week that will kind of wrap this thing up as we exit tonight. But the main topic for the evening is, you know, there's going to be a lot of new things on the horizon for us living here in the state of California. And even if you live in a different state, what happens here in California, eventually it makes its way into effect. Let me change my word there. It makes its way into infecting the rest of the nation. And there's a couple of issues that are on the forefront that I wanted to bring to light that are coming up in 2025 and beyond. And, you know, Democrats right now, I think, are really searching for leadership because of the massive defeat that just took place. There's no other way to put that than they were very handily defeated in the last election. There's not even any debate about that. There's no, oh, well, it's this and we need a recount and all that other stuff. I mean, it was a real spanking. The American people came out and spoke, and their voices was heard. And I'm very much grateful for that because, like I said, it really gives me the sense that, you know, the country isn't fucking lost when we have good people here that are willing to step up and to be a part of the process of, you know, in our republic. And so I'm super stoked.
Yeah, I feel like he really lined himself up with a good team that's just going to help him drive things back to his original agenda.
Yeah. Dean says, I liked it when Jill wore dresses that matched the couch. Yeah. Yeah, John W. in the house. How you doing, man? Bill Warner, absolutely. I think Jill wanted to probably stay in office more than Joe did. Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of felt that way too. You know, she was very much, oh, you did so good, Joe. You answered all the questions. And, you know, he was having a hard time, you know, putting his words together and his thoughts and composing himself. And she's the one like running her hand up his back like she's, you know, running the puppet, you know. And
yeah, I agree.
I think we've discussed this before, but I believe that any person who really cares about you would not put you through that, quite honestly. It's fucking humiliating. And he's not in a position to really, you know, he has good days, right? He has good days where you're thinking, oh, well, he sounds kind of like he's not completely gone. And then other days he has not so good days, kind of like the Mitch McConnell thing where he gets up there and he fucking locks up for 45 seconds. And people are like, Mitch,
move on.
You know, I mean, that happens when you get older. And I'm not here to make light of it because it's, you know, cognitive decline is a real problem. And a lot of people suffer from that and their family members have to suffer with that. I mean, I've dealt with that in my family. And so, again, I'm not trying to make light of what happened, but the fact that they covered up for it is, I think, the thing that really pisses me off. And when everybody could see it.
Right. It's unfortunate that they did that to him. It's almost cruel that they kept him there. And then it was even more so when they decided they were just going to let him go out there and just bumble, before they kicked him out of office. That was probably one of the rudest things.
Yeah, they didn't give him his meds or something because he went out there and he just that debate was a disaster and everybody knew it. So, but nonetheless, California is looking for leadership. I should say the Democrat Party is looking for leadership because they don't have as deep a bench as the conservatives at this point. However, they do have somebody in our governor who's very skilled at what he does, Gavin Newsom. And for the rest of us, he is the politician that just won't go away. We've tried to get that guy out of office a couple of times now with recalls, and I think there's another one they're trying to mount that. And I'm here to say that won't go anywhere because he's very politically connected. He's a very savvy and ruthless politician. He's very gifted at getting up there and spinning, the message. And that's what they're looking for. Well, you're shaking your head, Rebecca, because he's full of shit. And I know he's full of shit, but so many people will look at that and go, oh, he's everything. He's like the white Barack Obama. He can speak so good and he looks good. And you're shaking your head, but I guarantee you there's a lot of people that like that guy. And the people that don't know about him are going to hear him and go, oh, wow, he really sounds like he's something. People said that about Kamala. You have to remember there's people out there.
I know that there's people who like him.
Yeah.
But I don't.
No,
I've been in California my whole life.
And that's why I guess I'm bringing it up because, again, he's not going to go away. He's not leaving our politics here in California, but he's going to be somebody that's going to be a part of everybody's politics moving forward. And he's positioning himself now in a way that is going to clean up the mess that he's created. And he obviously is seeking higher office.
I don't think he's going to clean up the mess. I think he's going to cover up the mess that he created, but he's not going to clean it up.
Right. I've got a political prediction, which I'll lay on you right now. And you mark my words. And if this doesn't happen, I'll eat my fucking hat. But
I'm here to watch.
I may regret this. But Hogs was saying last week, Hogs 14 said that Kamala's coming back to California. And I'm here to agree with him. I think that's absolutely going to probably happen. Could happen as early as 2026 because Gavin Newsom's going to be up for re-election in 2026. And you know what he's going to do? He's not going to seek re-election because he's going to go out. They're going to pass that over to Kamala, but he will have 2 years from this point forward to try to clean up the fucking mess that he's created with regard to the deficit, everything. I mean, we had a surplus. And now we have $70 billion in debt. Well, he's going to clean all that up before he leaves or head it in the right direction, along with trying to get the illegal or the homeless population thing and that crime thing down. And he's trying to spin all of that so people can look at his record and say, well, look what I've done. And people they're stupid. They're going to fucking forget that. They'll just look at the numbers, and they'll believe what they're told in a political ad. And then Kamala will slide into that and he'll have 2 years to run against whoever's going to be Trump's successor. And so that's his political future. That's my prediction. I haven't heard that from anybody. It's just what I see because I pay attention to that guy. And I look at the things that he actually supports and I look at the things that he actually vetoes. And when he actually vetoes some legislation, I go, the fuck's behind this? And then when you look at it, you go, okay. It aligns with his policies. It aligns with his party's principles, but it goes against him politically. And so, I can cite you a number of different things that he has done. One such bill, you guys might remember this. This was, I don't know if it was last year. I think it was sometime last year when they came out with this legislation in California saying that if they want to make it law so that all cars have this limiting device on it, so that if it goes 10 miles over the speed limit, it's going to have this alarm that goes off, and it's something that you won't be able to disable. And so that's something that he probably actually really supports because of, it's going to save gas and it's going to reduce emissions and it's going to do all these things. He's very much in favor of those type of policies. But the problem with that policy is that car manufacturers are not going to make a California compliant car. And so they would have to make this on all cars. Automakers are not going to specifically just like, oh, we're going to make this California compliant car. That's going to cost them money that they're not willing to spend. And so when he realized, oh, this is going to affect more than just California, because he doesn't really give a fuck about us. He's just going to bone us, down. But that's a perfect example of how he operates. And so I try to pay attention to that.
Well, I'm going to hold out hope.
Okay.
That, because there's enough people that have seen him, seen his dirty work. And so I'm hoping that they'll continue to see that so that any little tidbit that they throw their way or he throws their way, they're not going to snap at. There is going to be a percentage of folks that are going to go that way. I have family members that would
go of course,
that
me
way.
too. But you're the optimist. I'm the person who's a little bit more reserved in that, and we'll just have to see. I feel comfortable now. I feel confident knowing that there's really actually a lot of good people in this country that are smart. There's some that just haven't woke up yet, and that's part of why I'm saying what I'm saying on this broadcast. Maybe a couple hundred people will hear it, but if a couple of minds are changed, or maybe somebody opens their eyes, then I guess it was worth it, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Bill Warner said you had better video that hat dinner. Yeah, man. I don't know. I might have.
I'll video it for you. I'll make sure it gets out.
Yeah, man. That's going to be a tough dinner. Let me tell you. Bill Zegley said, planted 3 pairs of berry bushes this week. Another step. Good for you, man.
Right.
That's awesome. In fact, we're going to be talking about some homestead stuff right now. Kind of went down the old political road, talking about our illustrious dear leader. But yeah, so what we've been doing around here, as I said, we're kind of getting into the winter mode. And along with when we get into winter mode, you wake up on days and you just don't want to be outside. It's just not great. You're just not inspired to be out there. But there's always, especially for us that are homesteaders or somebody who's preparedness minded, because we accumulate a lot of things. There's that clutter that seems to, just
grow.
Just develops. It just out of nowhere. You just like, there's stuff over there I got to deal with, And so that's part of what I've been doing this week. Is just taking a little bit at a time and going through some things that I need to organize, like my closet. I've got a lot of clothing in there and things that I don't wear. And, at some point you kind of have to look at stuff and realize, do I really need this? Or is it just I'm holding on to it for maybe, or is there some sentimental value attached to it? Or, what's the point of even having it? So I actually offloaded a bunch of clothing and organized in my closet this week. And I've still got more work to do in there because as a person who has a athletic fixation or a shoe fetish, I guess, and a sandal fetish, because I've got a lot of those things. I got to go in there and I got to root that out. I got a lot of running shoes. I got a lot of running sandals.
You know what I have to say about that? Last week, we talked about a bike that you were supposed to get rid of, right? And he agreed, hey, let's, we'll fix up whatever it needs on there. We'll get it on Craigslist. We'll get it sold. And I kid you not, it was only a couple days ago. And what did you come in and say? Maybe I'll make this a stationary bike.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of hard to get rid of that, but whatever.
He likes that bike.
Yeah. So I've been working on that. And also another thing that I did this week, and this is something that I think is really important to do. And I don't profess to be some master knife sharpener. I'm not Patrick from MT Knives right here. She's wearing.
I love this sweatshirt, by the way.
Yeah.
Patrick's out there.
Yeah. So I'm not a master knife sharpener, but I think it's really important to find some kind of way that how you can keep your blades sharp. And a couple of, I guess it was maybe last year or So I bought Rebecca a new kind of set of knives in the kitchen, with a new knife block and all that. And they were nice and sharp, and I've kept them sharp. But, if you don't stay up on that, they start to get little nicks in them, and then they dull. And next thing you know, you don't have good cutting implements. And then, you wind up almost damaging them to the point where it's hard to bring them back. So that was another thing that I worked on this week while it was shitty weather outside, just staying inside and put on a podcast. And I just took a couple hours to sharpen up all of our knives, because it's very important to have something that can, cut instead of you having to actually.
Well, it was a nice surprise when you bought the knives and the stand for it. What kind of cracks me up is every now and then we'll have somebody come in and they'll say, "How do the knives stay on that?" I'm like,
yeah,
it's magnetic.
Right.
But it's wood on the outside. So I guess I can understand how they don't think about the magnet on the inside.
Right. I'm trying to get caught up on this comment here. That's Bill Degley says looks like he's working on a chicken tractor, eh?
So you were talking about your closet.
Yeah. Hold on a second. It says, Bill says, so the chicken tractor is 90% finished. God provides in unseen ways. The old owner of this place has a sister who is having medical issues and is looking for someone to take her chickens. Yeah, cool, man. Yeah, that's awesome. So what were you saying, Rebecca?
Oh, I was saying that you were talking about your closet and cleaning up your closet. So as a female, I have a lot of clothes. I like clothes. But there are things that hang in the closet and you look at it and you're like, I really, really like that. But I never wear it. So
how do you deal with it?
My philosophy is, if I don't wear it, I take it out of the closet, fold it up. I actually don't take it out of the closet, but I stash it in a place in the closet. And if I never go back, then I get rid of it. Occasionally, there are certain things I'll go back and I'll go through because I'll wonder where they're at or whatnot. And it's almost like shopping again, because it's like, wow, I really like this. I put it back in the closet and I rotate it through. But for the most part, the majority of the stuff that I decide that I haven't worn, I really like, but I haven't worn, I just end up donating them. Yeah,
it's hard. That's sometimes you just have to let things go, and it's constant process, as I'm sure you guys are well aware, being preparedness minded, because things just show up, right? They accumulate. When you talked about shoes, I had never considered myself having a lot of shoes, and I went to a high school graduation. I'm not going to give you the number. And I had one of my old classmates come up to me and say, "Do you still have a lot of shoes?" Yeah. So another thing that I've been working on right now, you guys, it's a really great time to be building your soil. And that's a nice thing about having this chicken yard. And because I can go in there at any time throughout the year. And I've always got a ample supply of compost that I can harvest out of there. And right now I'm taking out, about a wheelbarrow a day, and I still have just like copious amounts of compost in there. And what I do with that is I top dress around some of the things that I'm trying to encourage in my edible landscapes. So I've got a lot of perennials that I've put in there, and some of them are doing well. Some of them have taken to their new home and they've flourished there. Some things have just shown up, and those, if I like where they're at and I like what they are, I'll encourage them to grow. But right now is a great time to take compost and start building your soil in those areas so that your plants are going to be happy moving forward, because it's going to get plenty of time for all the rainwater and everything to wash all of that fertility down into the soil in the root zones of those plants. And, putting in things like mulch over the top of that. These are all things that I wind up doing in this time of year. I also do it again toward the summer months as well, depending on whether or not I've got enough compost available. But right now is something that I'm doing. I was working out in the edible landscape area today and, most of every day this week. So it's just something to consider and something you guys might want to, think about.
Yeah. So you use these kind of wire rings around your compost piles.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should get little twinkle lights to go around those, because I was out there feeding the chickens. It was dark at night, and I tripped and fell into the compost on those. But if they have little twinkle lights out there, that wouldn't happen. I know. Take a flashlight.
Yeah, I bought you a flashlight.
I know, and I usually do, but every now and then it's on the charger.
Yeah. Angry Californian. Huh. That's a cool handle, man. I like that. Angry Californian. Watch for the political donations from the CCP through SF, whatever SF is. San Francisco? I don't know what SF means, but yeah, I'm not too worried about, not to say that isn't going to happen. I'm probably not going to pay much attention to it because I don't really know if there's anything I can do about it. It's, we know that the money that he's getting for his campaign and for his livelihood is gotten through probably corrupt means, because my understanding is he just purchased, I just saw this like yesterday or today, he just purchased a home. It's worth, I think, $8 to $10 million, somewhere in that range. About a 5,000 square foot home in Marin County. And Marin County is a very affluent, very liberal.
Very liberal.
Yeah, very liberal, very affluent county just north of San Francisco. So when you cross the Golden Gate Bridge, as soon as you get on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge, you're into Marin County. And, it's a beautiful area. You've got a lot of nice things there. And I like going to those places to visit. You feel very safe. It's not like there's a bunch of fucking dirtbag hobos and mental patients wandering up and down the streets. You feel very, very safe. And, but how does a guy who has a public servant, as a public servant makes a couple $100,000 a year as the governor, how does he become so wealthy where he can afford such a thing? And, there's more behind that. I actually heard, but I'm not going to try to get into it tonight because I don't really know more of the details. But it's just an interesting thing, man. Of course, there's a lot of corruption coming in from all areas, with politics.
So do you think it would help people out if they could flash him eating during COVID with no mask on?
Well, no, they already showed that. That was,
no, I mean constantly, so people could continue to refresh their memory.
I don't.
What's good for you is
I don't,
doesn't necessarily apply to him.
I don't, for the most part, because there's 30%, 40% of people who have already made up their minds no matter what.
They're stubborn.
Well, they're stupid. They're not willing to look at like, I'm being lied to, and they're okay with being lied to, so long as their side is the side that wins. And that's the sad part. But anyhow, let's move on from that. I'm getting pissed off talking about Newsom right now. We're going to get to him later.
All
right then. So I was talking about the edible landscapes, and that's something I've been working on. And I know she's been out there, working at pulling off some of the stuff that we got going on.
The last remaining ripe tomatoes. We do have green tomatoes to do fried green tomatoes, but there's still some red ones that come up, and basil that just does not want to quit. So we had some tomato basil soup the other night.
Last night. It was delicious. Homemade tomato soup with, there's nothing better, in my opinion, than eating something that you know where it came from.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. I mean, it was amazing. So again, it's just so nice to be able to know that what you're putting in your body is something that you actually grew, and it didn't have pesticides put on it. It hasn't had other people in the store fucking putting their hands all over it. And, it's just nice.
When you talk about people putting their hands all over the food, that's one of the things when our kids were little, I would not let them walk. They had to have their hands on the cart or they had to be in the cart because as little kids, they always have runny noses and everything, and they love to touch that area. It bothers me when I see their little hands run over the food. So I would not let our kids do that. They had to have their hands on the cart and they had to remain that way. And then if they did, they got a treat going out the door.
Mm-hmm.
So they were really good. They didn't get it till they went out the door.
Right.
They had to be in the check stand.
And if they acted up, they didn't get jack shit, right?
Oh, let me tell you,
They didn't get nothing.
they were so upset. We were halfway from where we live, halfway to Grandma and Grandpa's house, and they decided to scream and kick and poke at each other. And I turned the car around and they said, "Where are you going?" I go, "Home."
Yep. Yeah,
And
she didn't play, man. That's how you raise kids, man. You hey, this is the way it's going to be. If you act up, then this is going to be the consequence, and then you stand firm to that. And then pretty soon they learn, like, oh, that's the boundary. And I mean, we're talking a 3-hour drive and she's an hour and a half into it, and they turned them around and came home. Well, that's how you learn, so good on you. Yep. I'm trying to get caught up here, guys.
So one of the holidays that we do have coming up,
Uh-huh.
and we host, I know we've probably put it out there before, is Thanksgiving,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we've toyed with the idea of possibly not doing it, right? I think even this year you were thinking about, hey, let's not host it this year. But, the more you think about it, that's the time that we have all of the family come, and it's everybody at once. His side of the family, my side of the family. And it's just a beautiful moment to have them all at the same time. We used to love Christmas when kids were little, but they're grown up. They have their own families, right? So Thanksgiving, they are all here, all in one place.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. It is definitely my favorite holiday, and I hope everybody this year has a great holiday with their families. It just is a really special time to be able to actually break bread with the people you want to be around, and it's always family and close friends and that sort of gathering. And it's just nice not to have any commercial expectation of like, hey, I got to give you a present, I got to do this. It's just to get together and break bread. And it is a special time of the year. So
it's beautiful. We do a picture every year. So not in 2000. We moved here in 2000, but that was December. So our first family gathering doing Thanksgiving was 2001. And it's just amazing seeing those every year and watching our kids and family member, age as they go.
right.
And new members come and other members have left us.
Yep.
So that's the sad part. The joyous part is the new members coming in.
Yeah. Yep. Bill Warner says that my pigs eating the scrap produce we fed them through the summer have planted some seeds for us, and they are growing their own food. How awesome is that? It's pretty cool, man. I dig that. It's one of the things I do around here a lot is I just take the things that I want to encourage, and I'll just strip the seed off and just cast it out in my areas where I want those to potentially grow. Some of it won't germinate. Some of it will get eaten by birds, but a lot of that winds up just volunteering. And it's cool when you find and get a volunteer tomato plant or a volunteer pepper or a volunteer sunflower. I got a ton of sunflowers that are just voluntary. And a lot of them I just leave out in the orchard, and it's more or less a bird feeder. So the birds can come and snack on that. And what that does is it draws them into that space because they'll also eat other pests that maybe I don't want snacking on my vegetation. So it's a great thing to have. And I love it when they just voluntarily come up. We actually had this freaking melon that grew in our leach field when we first moved here, and we're like, what the hell is that thing? We let it mature, and then we wound up eating it. It was delicious, but it was growing out of the leach field out there. But it was good stuff.
I was going to ask you, the little birds that you do not like, the house sparrows.
House sparrows, yeah.
Do they like chicken eggs?
I don't know if they'd eat chicken eggs. They probably wouldn't be able to crack I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they're more into eating like seeds, and they're into eating.
So they would be in the house, in the coop,
Yeah,
going after the seeds, not the eggs.
They're going after the excess chicken food that gets kicked out from the chickens. That's what they're in there for.
Okay, because when I was gathering eggs,
they're not, unless you start finding
there was
broken
one that
eggs.
was flying out.
Unless you start finding broken eggs, which I don't believe we have been. By the way, how many eggs are we getting this time of year still?
We actually today had 18.
Okay, so
anywhere between 12 and 18, kind of depends on the weather. If it's really rainy outside,
right.
The girls just don't seem to want to have eggs. I mean, it's still 12 though, because they're molting. They look absolutely horrible.
Right. Hogs 14 says another food recall, this time organic carrots from a farm in California for E. coli. One person already dead. Holy smokes, man. Multiple people sick, and effect for 18 states. This is why you garden. Man, 100%, dude. I mean, seriously, and even if you don't, because we don't grow all of our food. I wish we could say that we did, but we don't. When you do buy stuff, try to be discerning about it. We've switched over to buying organic stuff. For one, just, it's not cool if it's being sprayed with pesticides. And the assumption, and I'm saying the assumption because I don't know for certain, but that organic product is not supposed to have been sprayed in that way. And it's supposed to be a little bit less. What's that?
Supposed to.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Unless you grow it, you don't actually know it. So you gotta hedge your bets there, and even the stuff that you get, make sure you're washing it and cleaning it appropriately, because you can wind up getting some bullshit like that. So that's not cool, man. Getting a bag of carrots and dying. Yeah, it's not cool.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it's horrid.
That's the one thing that I think you've had difficulties with is carrots.
No, I can grow carrots good. Last year my beet crop sucked. And we'll turn that around this year. London says that his neighbor has a bunch of blueberries, can't give them away fast enough. That's man, I'd like to see that, because I go through a lot of blueberries every day. Blueberries for breakfast in my yogurt, and blueberries in my smoothie at least once or twice a day. So I can go through.
Well, and we put them on our salads too.
Yeah, we eat a lot of antioxidants, man. It's good for you. I think that's another thing to just mention. If you're keeping yourself healthy, trying to keep yourself in good shape, you're going to be less susceptible to that E. coli bullshit and everything else, COVID and all the other things that come up. The people that wind up dying from that sort of illness are people with weakened systems. And so it's just an important thing to maybe think about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keeping yourself tuned up.
So he's got me out there running with him.
Well,
I can't keep up with him.
No, you did that on your own. It wasn't anything I said, hey, you need to do this or whatever. You just decided you wanted to do it again. And I'm like stoked for you. I think that's great.
However, what'd you say to me the other morning?
I have no idea.
I'm going to go out there for 9 miles and you can do 7. I'm like,
but that's because you're running well though, now.
I don't know if I could do 7.
Well, you can do what you want to do. I was just telling you, I was going to be out there for hour and a half. And
I got 6 in.
Yeah.
I got close.
Look at you go. Yeah. She's like, yeah, I'm going to just walk it. I don't feel well. And I come back. She's like, yeah, I had to run. I ran the most of it.
I couldn't take it. Yeah. I felt like I was cheating myself.
Yeah. Telling it's me that's wanting to do the thing. It's you. All right. Let's see. I don't know what it's like elsewhere, guys. Frost wise, it says that Bill says he hasn't had a killing frost, and I'm still harvesting tomatoes and peppers. Awesome.
That's good. Well, that was the other thing we were getting too, is peppers.
Oh, we still got a grip of them. Peppers are not really just an annual. They'll grow multiple years, if you can keep them from freezing. Mm-hmm. We've got a grip of peppers out there yet still.
we have herbs as well growing
Oh yeah.
really well. So now that we're moving back inside, I need to start dehydrating more of those.
Yeah. Yeah. Cucumbers, melons, and tomatoes growing in the pig pasture. Yeah. We got some stuff like that out there, but it's not it's just too cold for it to actually develop. I just mowed over some stuff today, some melons and things. I actually pulled out the remainder of our pumpkin patch and, using those right now just for decoration for the upcoming holiday. But all of those vines get fed to the sheep. I hate to see that kind of thing get wasted. So they'll eat it. It's a food stuff for them and they're more than glad to have it. So I feed all that to my sheep and nothing goes to waste.
I noticed you took down the corn stalks.
I did.
Where did those go?
I just put them out on the burn pile. They look shitty. So I just got rid of them. They didn't look right. Bill says that he has a question about organic produce. If the field is worked and harvested with tractors and other equipment that is petroleum based, is it really organic with greases and oils leaking from them? Yeah, I suppose, there's the potential for that. I imagine that that's a possibility, but as far as them being certified organic, I don't think that you have to be able to have a field that doesn't have any mechanical implementation that's being applied to it. There's a possibility. I imagine it's probably pretty remote though.
I didn't even thought about that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's JDD. Yeah. It's 70 in Missouri. My hot peppers are still coming in. Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, you wouldn't think this time of year, and in some places they've probably already had a cold spell that's put some of these things to bed for them. And that's not typical for a lot of people in different latitudes. We tend to have pretty temperate temperatures around here, but if it's getting down to 34, that could start to affect my potatoes and things like that are coming up. They're pretty, they're not cold hardy.
Yeah.
But
so the pumpkins that you fed to the chickens, I like how they were eating at them.
I should have done time lapse on that because they put that short work to that thing.
I know, but did you notice how they were doing it? Inside
out.
They were eating like holes. Yeah. Like all around it.
Yeah. Yeah. They were eating it. Get inside and then they ate all the pulp out and then they're eating the inside. But also I started our incubator today. So I'm looking forward to getting some eggs in that probably by tomorrow if I can get my temperatures right. And we're going to start to try to hatch some of our birds before our egg production goes down too much more. And it's that time of year.
I have them lined out, the ones that are going to go in the incubator.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that are the older eggs, the first ones I gathered, I have actually taken them out and replaced them with the eggs I gathered today. Mm-hmm. So there'll be a newer batch.
Yeah, they recommend that, you should use them within seven days or so of them being laid. I mean, that's, you can go beyond that, but, go with whatever's recommended. The fresher, the better, as far as trying to get as much, viable eggs in the end. So I think we're going to get that thing filled up here tomorrow and we'll see what we can get hatched out of there because it is chicken making time for us around here.
So there's 50 eggs up there. What are you going to do if you get 50 chicks?
I'll give them away to family. We got family that needs chickens and friends that need chickens. It's whatever.
I seriously doubt you'll get 50, but
no, I don't think we will either. In fact, what I wanted to do was to hatch some and then I wanted to buy some. So maybe buy a dozen or so from the hatchery. And so I can compare the ones we raised against the ones that I'm getting from the hatchery because they should be Novogen Browns. But again, I don't know how their egg production is going to actually wind up being. So that's what my plan is.
Unless they came from the one you dislike.
Right.
That's white. That wouldn't be a Novogen Brown. It'd be part Novogen.
Sure. Hog says, what incubator do we use? It's a new thing that I just bought, man. I wanted to, it's I think from Farm Innovations and it has a mechanical egg turner in it. And, you just add the water in the bottom to keep the humidity up and stuff. And then it's got a window in the top so you can visualize and see what's going on without opening it, which is nice. The thing that I don't like about it, and I would have bought the other one had they had it in stock, but it's just styrofoam. It's not covered like with some kind of a cover that's going to prevent that styrofoam from getting dented up and funky after a while. I mean, it'll be fine for a while, but it's going to be a little bit more fragile than something that had that plastic skin on the outside of that styrofoam, and those were all sold out. So I got that one, but yeah, I think it holds about 60 eggs. So,
so what you're telling me is down the road, there'll be a purchase of a new incubator.
Well, when this one dies, there will be, but at this point it's going to be fine, I'm sure. It's Bill Warner says, I saw an Instagram reel about chickens and pumpkins. The person scratched the tough outer skin off like a jack-o'-lantern face, and the chickens carved their own pumpkin and also ate the entire inside. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. They'll do damage on a pumpkin, man. They love it. They love squash. Sounds like a great video series. I was thinking of actually, I was going to do like an unboxing of this thing or whatever, but I just didn't feel like, wasn't super motivated to do that. So I don't know. We'll see if I can do something with it or whatever, but I wasn't super enthusiastic about making a video today. So,
so it's clear where you can see the eggs on top, right?
Uh-huh.
So maybe.
Yeah. Well, we'll get the grandkids over and they can watch the chickens hatch and stuff, which is kind of cool for them or whatever. But London says he used the styrofoam one and got 9 out of the 23 eggs. I wish it had the mechanical turning capability. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how this thing works. It's something new to us, but we'll see how this one goes. Yeah. And so with this rain, it's now, for me, trending into a biochar season. And so I'm going to probably be putting out a video on that at some point. But I shot a little content just the other day. I'm going to do some trench biochar. I've got a lot of biomass around here that I need to start turning into some char. And so that's the plan with that. It makes it a little bit easier to do the trench now that I've got a tractor that'll dig a trench. And I don't have to be out there with a shovel or something trying to, do a cone pit or some bullshit. So this just makes it a lot easier. And then when you're done, you can just cover the pit back up, So I'll probably be doing something that here shortly once we get a little bit more rain. But I don't want to be getting the grass fire going like my neighbor, But let me jump into Q&A. I've got a couple of questions on biochar from this last week. And the first one goes like this, is can we use charcoal and with compost to use it in, it said, let me start over. It says, can we use charcoal and treatment with compost to use instead of making biochar? How different will it be? Now, my assumption is that this person was referring to using charcoal like commercially purchased charcoal, like a like lump charcoal. And I said in response, it really depends on what one is referring to as charcoal. Lump charcoal is made using the same process of pyrolysis. The main difference is lump charcoal still has organic impurities remaining. That is why lump char will flavor your food when cooking. Organic impurities will continue to or will contribute to the degradation of the char over time. So it is best to make char that is free of those impurities as possible. Some have claimed to have made biochar using purchased charcoal, but be careful if you go this route, because you may not know if it's been chemically enhanced in some way to aid in the cooking process. So, I've seen people making videos on YouTube saying, hey, you can make biochar with lump charcoal. Maybe that's the case, but again, understand of what I just said with regard to impurities still being left in that char to some extent. It's not completely void of those volatile organics. And so it's going to degrade a little bit easier over time, which isn't a bad thing. It's still going to last for damn near forever. But you may not have a full understanding of what was actually put into that char, if anything was put into that char, and that could cause something detrimental to your soil building efforts down the road. So you just want to try to avoid that if possible and learn how to make some biochar. That was my answer to him.
Sounds like a good answer.
Well, it's one I had. This next one says, you are an amazing teacher. I have a question. What if I use any other type of woods, or is there specific trees that I would have to use to make biochar? Thank you very much. And I said, you can use any organic material that is thoroughly dried. Different wood has different pore structures and densities, which in turn will yield a different end product, but all untreated wood will make good char. I use both hardwood and softwood here. It depends on where I get the material from, but I use Doug fir when I get it from the mill, and then I use hardwood and any other waste product from the standpoint of downed dead material off my property. And once it's thoroughly dried, you apply the correct amount of heat to it in an oxygen deprived atmosphere, and you're going to drive off all those volatiles, and you're going to make amazing char. You actually don't even need to use wood. You can use any organic material, can be turned into char if it's sufficiently dried. There's a lot of different agricultural waste that is used. People use corn stalks, they use rice hulls, they use all kinds of different things. You can use grass, you can use manure. There's a lot of things that you can utilize. Understand that it's going to maybe have a different burn down time and a different, end product from the standpoint of what you're left with. I prefer to use wood. It's just a lot more easy for me to work with, and there's not a lot of stuff that's going to just start flying around when it's turned into char. It's going to.
So how would grass work?
It would work just the same as anything else. It's just going to be a lot more, it's going to be a lot more fragile, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to have this just wispy ass grass that's left over that's going to become airborne with very little disturbance. Whereas something a lot more dense like wood, a lot more tightly compacted and a lot more carbon in it, it's the same thing. It's just a different starting point in essence.
It just seems like the grass would be a waste of time because it's so
you'd have to have
so
a lot
thin.
of grass. You'd have to have a lot of grass, and you'd have to do it in a different way that, probably I'm doing it, mm-hmm. But it can be done. I guarantee you.
I would have never thought.
Yeah. So that was the Q&A segment. Let me go into liberal or conservative, but maybe before I do, let me just scan through here. Okay. Yeah, liberal or conservative. This is where I will read a quote from a liberal or conservative, and it will be up to you, Rebecca, to determine whether or not this came from a liberal or conservative. But in this case, maybe it would be better to say that instead of a liberal or conservative, was it a Democrat or a Republican that said this? Now, here's that quote. The Constitution is the guide which I never will abandon. Pretty short quote.
It is. I would say a conservative or a Republican.
Right. I would say that you're probably right the first time when you said conservative. And then I would say you were definitely wrong when you said it was a Republican. because who this came from, this quote, came from George Washington. And he was and remains the only president to have not been affiliated with a political party. He was an independent.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And, I've been getting into looking at and learning a little bit more about our founding fathers and what they were all about. And I have to say, they are very impressive men. And when you compare them to what we have now from the standpoint of who is involved in our politics, it'd blow your mind to know that these men were so incredibly forward thinking and they really understood things. They were really very well accomplished at a very young age. And George Washington was a founding father of the United States. He was a military officer and a farmer who served as the first president of the United States from 1789 to 1797. And he led the forces to victory in the American Revolutionary War. And he then served as president of the Constitutional Convention in 1787, which drafted the current Constitution of the United States. Washington has thus become known as the father of his country. And it's just an amazing thing to think that you compare this person's resume or any of the founding fathers of this country's resume with a person like Kamala Harris. And you just go, what the fuck has happened to our country that we could even consider putting somebody up like that as the commander in chief and the leader of the free world? It's amazing to me.
From either side.
Well, yeah, from either side. I would say that Trump he's certainly an accomplished person. He's a businessman. He's a smart individual who knows how to get things done. And he doesn't have all the answers to everything. And he doesn't come from a political background. And maybe there's things that he doesn't know, but he understands the value of preserving what those men sought to lay down in the Constitution. Whereas I think you have some people on the other side who don't look at the Constitution as something that is worth preserving and defending. They look at it as it's a living document, that it goes with the times. And if you believe that, then the Constitution isn't really a constitution.
It doesn't really have much meaning at all.
No. And so it's very interesting when you see the progressives, how they want to, we need to change this and we need to change that because it doesn't suit this part of the way we feel today. Well, that's not the point of the thing, man. The point of the thing is to keep their ass in line. It's to keep the government in line. And so it's these men, they understood that. Mm-hmm. And they understood what would happen if we stray from the principles in which they laid out. And so, like I say, George Washington, he was an amazing guy. It's pretty cool, man. Do your homework and go look at some of these founders.
So do you think it's because they set those principles out, but they didn't have any other agenda attached to it? Where nowadays, we have parties that have other agendas that they want to get.
I think it's because they understood what it meant to be under British rule and not be free. Mm-hmm. They understood that. And so they sought to break away from that and create a system that would keep man in check. I think that was their understanding for the most part. And I think they had it right. But along with the generations, we wind up with corruption. And that's why you have people who make $250,000 a year living in mansions that are worth $10 million. See, these people are corrupt.
They're very corrupt.
Right.
I think that when they come out of office, they need to go back to the point at which they were at prior to going into office. Right.
Yeah. Big B's in the house and says they created the two-party system to divide. You're 100% correct. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it's all about. It's to give you that binary choice, instead of giving you the third party. That's why Bobby Kennedy wasn't allowed to be on the ballot. He's a very sharp guy. There's a lot of people that would support that, but they didn't want him. They didn't want him in the thing. They just wanted you either pick our side or you pick Hitler, right? You either pick the misogynist, the racist, or you pick our side because we're going to give you abortions. See, they don't fucking have any answers other than that. And they don't give you the guy that says, hey, we're going to make America healthy again. No, you sorry, dude, you can't play. Well, of course, that binary choice is the thing that they want. And it's purely to divide. They could actually fix so much in this country because that's what the people want. That's what the people just voted for 2 weeks ago. They want shit fixed. And I'm excited about the fact that if he can get in there, some things are going to happen. But we'll talk about that more at a later date, I suppose. Yeah, I think that we are so fortunate, guys, if you think about it. I mean, I know that there's probably people that will listen to this that are maybe don't even live in the United States. They might just be tuning in just to see what I'm rambling about and we're talking about. And but we are very fortunate here in this United States. We have 50 places that we can go if we so choose. And it's quite an interesting little experiment. And the beauty of having so many different choices is that if the place that you're living in doesn't suit you, either politically, economically, spiritually, or otherwise, you could just pick up and move to another state. And I really think that's a fantastic thing about our nation that not a lot of other people living elsewhere in the world might be able to do. And each state is its own little science experiment with its own set of laws and regulations that govern the people that live within it. And I think we really got a chance to see in this last election the push and pull in our country. One of the driving factors that causes people to want to leave, for the most part, I think, is economics. It can be politics. It could be maybe you want your children to be raised in a different environment and, this doesn't suit you or whatnot. But most of the people that leave is due to economics. Either they can't afford to live where they're at any longer, or maybe they have a job opportunity elsewhere. And so people go based on economics. And
I would say that definitely for California, people leave California because they can't afford.
That's a big part of it. But I think this big mass exodus that occurred last time was so much even culturally though too. That was a big aspect of it. People just don't like, the whole things that are happening in public schools and just everything, man. The regulatory environment of, you got to fucking smog your car, and do all this stuff and pay all these high taxes. And, it's just an oppressive environment. And fortunately for us, I guess we can absorb that because we're in a position to absorb that. But many people are living paycheck to paycheck. And so economics is going to be a driving consideration for people to want to leave, and what are the most expensive states to live in, which I think is something that's really interesting. And I can't fully explain this other than what I have some thoughts on it, but there are top, I asked the computer, what are the top 10 states with the highest cost of living? And here's what I found. And this is in order of descending from most expensive to least expensive. And it starts with Hawaii, California, Alaska, Massachusetts, Washington, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Connecticut, and Maryland. And so, Rebecca, any idea why those states are at the top of the list?
My guess on Hawaii is because it's an island and everything has to be flown there. So it raises the cost for that. So that's why I would guess Hawaii. Mm-hmm. The others, they're very liberal states. I don't know much about Alaska, so I can't speak on that. But
yeah, Alaska would be the same reason as Hawaii. They don't grow anything up there. I mean, shit, it's frozen half the time. Every bit of food that they get is shipped in from the lower 48. So those states that are not on the contiguous United States, Hawaii and Alaska. That's why they're on the list. Now, of course, Hawaii is pretty liberal. I don't really know politics wise what Alaska is. I think it's more red than not. But, that's the reason why they're on that list. But all the rest of them are super liberal.
But I have been to Connecticut and I have been to Maryland, never been to New York. And obviously we've been to Washington, and I've been through Massachusetts, I believe. And yes,
right.
they're very beautiful, extremely liberal.
Right. I don't know, man. I guess it just is about the political structure. In other words, right? I can't imagine liberals would want to be overtaxed and have everything be extremely expensive. Maybe they put up with that because they think, hey, if we have it like that, then those people from Oklahoma and Kentucky and Kansas won't fucking live here because they can't afford it. You think there's something behind that where they think that
would be my guess.
You think the people that are in New Jersey and Massachusetts put up with the fact that their gas is fucking, $1 more, that their food is way more, cost of living of everything is way more. You think they put up with that because they think, hey, at least it keeps the people that I don't want living next to me out? You think that's it?
I would say yes. That would definitely be right on top.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, man, because why would you willingly just like put up with this shit? I know why we put up with it, as we've expressed. But if we didn't have family here, it'd be a different story, man. I'd be hanging out in Oklahoma and Kentucky and Kansas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I would be up for moving if our family wasn't here.
Yeah.
It would be devastating for me to be that far away from my grandkids and my children.
Yeah.
I love being able to see them because they're close enough by.
Yeah. Dean Mullis agrees. He says 2 are supply line issues. The rest is corruption via regulation. Yep. 100%, man. But again, I can only see that's the reason why liberals would put up with that. Because, let me tell you something. You go to one of these places, and I haven't been to Connecticut. I haven't been to, Massachusetts and Vermont and Maine. I haven't been to those places, but they're pretty. I imagine they are. And they're probably pretty rich, and I'm sure it's nice. But when I do go to a place that's liberal, that's the predominant voting constituency in that area. When I do go to those places, it's nice. It's nothing wrong. I mean, I don't feel like I'm going to get mugged. I feel like I'm safe. I feel like I can go out and walk up and down the street at any time of the day or night and not get like accosted. And that's nice. Mm-hmm. That is a nice thing. And you go to nice shops. You can go to places to get a nice meal. And I'm not talking fucking Waffle House and Hardee's, right? I'm not talking getting food like that. I'm talking you go sit down and it's a nice dining experience with good food. I mean, that's what I like, to experience that sort of food occasionally. I mean, I can go downtown in our town and get some Kentucky Fried Chicken, but
you cannot.
Who wants to eat that bullshit?
Where are you going to get Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Well, I'm just saying fast food. I mean, there's so much fast food and taco trucks and all these shit food. It's nice to go to a place where you've got nice cuisine and stuff.
You know what our Kentucky Fried Chicken is now?
It's a Starbucks.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's still junk, but.
Right. Yeah. California. London? The taxes on my old house in California has gone up to $6,900. The nice couple that bought the house are freaking out. They're like, what did we do, man? What in the heck?
We have a couple who buy eggs from us, and they have a house in the Bay Area and they have a house here. And I can only assume that the Bay Area is far more expensive because they're considering moving here full time.
Yeah. Big tech is driving up the cost of living in the West. I would say that's true down in the Silicon Valley area where those jobs exist, but they're not really moving up here and buying up properties. I mean, they probably are to some extent, but that's not the business model for people moving up here. Now if Amazon were to build something in our town, that would change the cost of houses. If they put in a super center or like one of those
Maybe we
distribution
get
centers,
better restaurants.
I'd be
Maybe
okay.
not.
I don't know. I'd be okay with like better places to eat because it sucks, man. Here, it's
You wouldn't want to go out to eat.
probably not.
You'd say, no, they're cooking my food in seed oil. I can't have that.
Probably not. Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting here in California, guys, and they're always pushing new progressive policies and introducing hundreds of new laws each year. This year alone, Newsom signed over 800 new laws that will go into effect for the upcoming year in 2025. One of the increases to California cost of living was just voted on right after the election, and it was an increase to our already high gas prices. We already pay
The cheapest that I can find it is $3.99. That's the cheapest.
That's actually pretty decent in comparison to what it's been. But we generally speaking pay a buck more than anybody else, just based on the fact we've got these different special blends and how it has to go through the Air Resources Board and all this bullshit. Well, right after the election, they snuck this one in because they thought nobody'd pay attention, which is probably true. And gas is going to be going up about 65 cents a gallon on top of what we're already paying. So, yeah, take a listen to this.
They're about to raise by 65 cents. Last night, CARB, which is the California Air Resources Board in California, just voted 12-2 to raise gas prices by up to 65 cents in order to disincentivize people from having gas vehicles in order to meet the state's requirements and what Governor Newsom wants for his carbon neutral initiatives. Now, this is a non-elected body. They are appointed by the governor, voted on this last night, and I honestly think that people were going to be distracted with the election. The national average of gas prices is about $4, and this would make gas go up to $7 a gallon. This happened last night. I don't know when this is going to roll out, but it's looking like up to 65 cents of an increase without you being aware or even voting on it.
Yeah. London says that gas in his area down there, since the election is $2.32.
I'm going to move in with you, London.
Yeah, Bill says that it's not easy not to have my grandchildren near me. Unfortunately for us, to be able to be financially live as a retired couple, we bought a farm and moved to Tennessee. They're all in Oregon. Yeah, that's a tough decision that I think a lot of people, have to wrestle with. And sometimes it's, like I said, the economic thing that causes people to make that decision. I know we would, like I said, if we weren't so heavily invested in having, our family near us, then we'd probably make a different choice too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, gas is it's an interesting thing, man. Just so you know, like what Newsom's all about, and I think some of you probably do, but he wants to be that guy that is a leader in some regard. And so listen to him when he talks about what he feels about the internal combustion engine and what he hopes to see take place in the state. Now, mind you, they've already essentially made it illegal to sell. They're still selling them, but they're on their way out. They're phasing out the small engines. So things like generators and chainsaws and, they want all that shit, lawnmowers, they want it all to be electric. So you've got these little electric battery packs or whatever, that you slide in and stuff. And they want to eliminate that all in the name of climate change. But this is what this dude is all about. And so if somebody like this gets in, he's going to be the World Economic Forum's greatest asset. And all of these people that want this global governance, he's going to be one of their best assets. Much like the little puppet up in Canada, like that little Trudeau dude. That's a little scary bastard too, but he's kind of a little punk. This dude right here is an evil, maniacal, savvy politician, not to be underestimated, guys.
First jurisdiction in the world to require all new cars to be sold to be alternative fuel cars. And here's why it's significant. Besides being a game changer in terms of our climate and our energy leadership, it's a game changer in another respect, that the car manufacturers themselves are celebrating and embracing it, including Toyota today, not just Ford and GM.
Yeah. So he wants to eliminate the internal combustion engine for cars, for passenger vehicles, by 2035. That's just right around the corner for most people. So what is that, 11 years from now? And that's where we're headed?
Mm-hmm.
It'll be here before you know it. So it's going to be an interesting thing, and there'll be a push and pull in this country. I don't think the general public is with that. Even a lot of people in California are not with that. But when you're forced into that as a reality, like they make it punitive for you to register a car that's gas powered, or they make the gas prices so exorbitant you can't afford it, what are you going to do? You're either going to leave the state, or you're going to absorb that. And many people will just absorb it, because they're going to continue to raise the minimum wage. Pretty soon the minimum wage will be $30 an hour, which really won't mean shit. It'll still be like minimum wages, like $3.35 in reality, because everything else is costing more, right? They're just moving it up the scale. You're still only going to buy one fucking loaf of bread and 1 gallon of milk. It's just that everything costs more. It's inflation. So I don't know. It's stupid, man.
It is.
New scum.
I love it when Trump says that.
I think New Scum is also just put the whammy on motorhome sales. Yep, I'm gonna get to that. You betcha. Yeah, that's an interesting thing, man. It's gonna probably affect us, and I don't know to what extent. So with that gas price increase, just think about this. California drivers are going to have to basically earn an additional $600 to $1,000 a year in pre-tax income just to break even with 2024 prices. So if how's that going to affect the person who's at the margins, who's maybe making 50 grand a year or something, right? Or less.
That's kind of sad, because people are struggling to pay for their rent and groceries and, worry about their kids and how they're going to feed them and clothe them. And
right. Yeah. As London had just mentioned, the other law that's going into effect would either ban or restrict the sale of motorhomes in the state, and proving that liberals are stupid and that it's contagious. 5 other states have joined the California Air Resources Board, which comprises California, Oregon, Washington, New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts. So residents of these states will not be able to register a motorhome that is not in compliance with the CARB, which is the California Air Resources Board RV truck regulation. So I don't know how that's going to affect us, quite honestly. We do have a motorhome, and it's anything over 8,500 gross vehicle weight, GVW, is not exempt. And if it's a diesel, and ours is a diesel, and it's a 24-foot motorhome, so it's not under 8,500 pounds GVW. So I don't know how that's going to affect us. I think what they had actually mentioned is, you're going to have to register it fucking twice a year or some bullshit like that. They're just going to try to make it more.
I didn't hear that.
I did hear that. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm not really going to get too spun up about it until it's an issue. I still think this is down the road or whatever. I don't know how this is going to, but what it's going to eventually amount to is people are, RV sales are going to plummet in these particular states. Oregon, there's a lot of old ass people living in Oregon, a lot of RVers in Oregon, a lot of people in California, a lot of RVers in California. And so I mean, the manufacturers are probably just going to pull the thing. But again, this is more of the same as it relates to totalitarian governments.
Well, they're not cheap to buy now as it stands. And if they're electric, they're going to weigh more.
I have no
and
idea.
They're going to cost more.
Yeah, I have no idea how this is all going to play out. It's going to be kind of interesting. I guess I'm a little hopeful that we have some sanity that's returned into American politics. And let me just point this out, that it's not only good for us here in America. This is good for a lot of people around the world. A lot of citizens around the world are celebrating this. They're like, oh, thank God we've got somebody in there who's not a fucking lunatic. Now, he can go sideways on you, but at least he's common sense, and he's going to do what he says he's going to do.
He calls that the weave.
The weave. Yeah, that's the weave, the political weave. But hey, check this out.
The end of the era if you love motorhomes in the state of California. In California and 5 other states across the nation, there will be an effective total ban on the sales of motorhomes in those states. And that's because the ACT and CARB, the California Air Resource Board, have basically set standards for companies to sell a certain percentage of zero-emission vehicles. RV industry has met with CARB many times to basically see if there was anything they can do to halt or temper the effects on the RV industry, but unfortunately, in January 2025, this is all moving forward. CARB sets the standard for a lot of states around the United States, so this is not just affecting California, it will affect other states. CARB suggests that this is not a total ban. They're saying that they're giving energy credits so that chassis can be created, like different, basically the chassis is like what holds the engine and everything. So they're creating credits in order to build, but the companies aren't going to make money off of building that new technology because the credits don't make up for the loss of revenue. Including those few states that are going to adopt this in 2025, there are 10 other states that also will probably adopt these in the next few years. If you're wondering if you can get a motorhome and then bring it in, it has to be used. So if you want to buy a motorhome and drive it around for 7,500 miles and then bring it into the state of California, that's your loophole.
Yeah, I agree, Big B. Isn't that fantastic? I mean, thankfully we have politicians who are, looking out for us, and they're trying to make our life better and easier, right?
Oh yeah.
They're concerned about the average person who just wants to get in their fucking motorhome and go to the beach, or go and take their kids on vacation, or just maybe go see the Grand Canyon or something. They're just making it harder and harder to enjoy your life. You work all these years to maybe buy something, and then they want to tax more of your shit or make it harder for you to even own things that you want to own. But they have no problem themselves living up in the hills in a mansion that costs nearly $10 million. So it's pretty amazing that you have people this evil. And I really look at them like they're evil because I know that they know better. I know that they know what they're doing to the rest of us. And yet they don't give a shit.
I think Newsom should sleep in the Chevy Sonic.
Yeah.
Like for a month at least.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's pretty sad. Maybe Newsom is trying to appease his Chinese friends and the import electric cars that are cheaper in Mexico. Make no mistake about it. Anything that person's doing is in some way going to advantage himself or his party, which in turn will advantage himself. He's not going to do anything that is going to not benefit himself. It has nothing to do with climate change, saving the planet for the rest of us. It has nothing to do with future generations. It has nothing to do with that. It just has to do with power, and it has to do with money and what's good for their side. That's it purely. And I don't know why more people can't see that, but I mean, it is what it is. Bill Warner says, your governor sounds like a joke. I heard several years ago, a huge crowd of people were running by, and the response of the official was, where are all of my people going? Maybe I should go lead them. Yeah, I didn't hear that. Occasionally he'll get jammed up, but he's pretty savvy. He's pretty savvy at getting up in front of the mic and spinning things to to sound really good. And you're going to see a lot more of that. We can't seem to get rid of him. He's the one politician that'll never just like go away. Maybe if more of the American people come out in 2028 and actually vote against this guy and don't ever forget all of the things that he's done from the time he was mayor all the way to running for the White House. But he's a very skilled and savvy and manipulative and ruthless politician that the Democratic Party they're going to embrace him.
I'd say he's one of the worst out there.
In what sense?
Not the worst,
In
but
what sense?
Just because he is definitely for himself. There's nothing good about him.
Same as his aunt, Nancy Pelosi.
Oh no, I don't like her either.
Well, no, I mean, what's the like? What's the like about a person that's just a political liar? Everything that they say is bullshit. And then the only reason that they can get away with that is because they have a compliant media, mains or legacy media that never questions them. They never get challenged. If they were ever challenged on their positions, they would crumble. They wouldn't be able to withstand it.
Well, Gavin Newsom, I don't know if Nancy would be able to cover herself up as well as her nephew, but Gavin Newsom could tell you a story. I mean, he can look at you straight in the face and lie to you and tell you a story and try to convince you. And unfortunately, he does convince people. But
yes,
that's the downside.
Yeah,
and just you have to know that they're evil if they're looking you straight in the eye, just straight in the eye, lie to you.
Well, when you think about somebody who would let illegal people into this country when it's illegal, and their job is to actually protect and defend our borders. And these same people were never concerned about the fact that they had people running around for years saying, you need to not go to fucking Thanksgiving. And when you eat, you need to put your mask on twice. And scaring people to the point where they couldn't even fraternize with their own family. But they have no problem at the same time opening up the border and just allowing illegals coming from who the fuck knows where to flood into our country. And there's no concern about COVID then, is there? This is the hypocrisy that I'm speaking of. And for people to not see that and to be upset about it and to actually take their head out of their ass and say, you know what, these people are fucking lying to me. And they're evil because they know better. You're too stupid to see it. You're buying into their bullshit, but they know exactly what they're doing. And when that happens and somebody's doing that's willfully deceitful, that's harming millions of people, to me, that's evil.
Yes.
So
I would agree.
Slithering reptilian is not a strong enough word. It's not a strong enough description. Yeah. Release the technology that has been controlled by the monopolies. I say release the Kraken. How about that? On their ass. And I hope when Trump gets in there, that's what happens. It sounds to me like that he's going to be just doing some shit. You know what? I heard with this Matt Gaetz thing, they're going to try to the rhinos and they're going to be like, oh, we got to vote on this or whatever. Trump's like, yeah, no, fuck that. I'm going to pull this out. And then he's going to be my guy for the first 210 days. And then we'll revisit it after that. And I'll extend it another 210 days because of this right here says I can. He just came out on True Social and said that and tweeted that or whatever you want to call it. So
they were talking about something. I didn't fully understand it.
So all that needs to happen is he needs to get in there.
Well, that's the first thing. That's the first most important thing right now.
Right.
But I think he's got a great team behind him. Of course. And I think that they're going to be there and support him.
That's going to be the clip of the week here shortly. I want to show you guys that. That's pretty awesome. This has me smiling, and I'm taking a victory lap if you haven't figured it out. And I think we should all take a victory lap because we've been taking it in the ass for the last 4 years, if not longer, with all this bullshit they've been throwing it at J6 people, and, you know, all the lies that they've created about conservatives from day one, you know, and it's just like, this goes back to the Tea Party, man, where they were vilifying grandmothers that were standing out there with signs because they didn't like the direction of their country. They were protesting, and they wanted to make them out to be some kind of like right-wing white separatists. You know, they always got to play the race card bullshit. And these were just good people out there saying, hey, we don't like the way this Obamacare thing's going. And they caught hell from both sides, including John McCain and fucking Lindsey Graham and all these other swamp monsters that need to go. Just my opinion. I'm not in that state. I don't vote for politicians in other states, but people need to vote, man, and get these people out because they're corrupt.
Yeah, they've been there too long.
Too damn long.
Too long, getting their own way, and then just continuing to push the limits.
Too damn long. Yeah. So again, with this California thing, right? You guys are lucky because you don't live here. But
sounds like we don't like it here.
Except Hogs 14, he's taking it too. But in October of 2017, Governor Jerry Brown signed Senate Bill 54, making California the first sanctuary state in the nation. Now, this law prohibits local and state agencies from cooperating with immigrations and customs enforcement from the federal government regarding illegal immigrants, right? We're not just talking immigrants that have come through the front door, and did it the right way. No, these are people that have broken the law. And California said, oh, no, you can't, no, these are our people. Well, why is that? Huh? Look at the vote. You know, we just covered that, right? Mm-hmm. Pretty obvious to everybody that that's what they're doing. They're fucking signing these people up and they're voting illegally.
Well, I've been saying that from day one when they've been letting them in.
And now I'm agreeing with you.
I'm pretty sure as they come across, they're having them fill out the paperwork and just taking it back from half of them. More than half of them don't even speak English.
And now I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
So as of now, there are 11 states. Huh. That's retarded, don't you think? Way to go, California, for setting that example and leading the way yet again. And now these other liberal states have adopted sanctuary policies as well. So let me give you a list of that. And if you notice something here, see what you notice. California, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, and Vermont. Huh. Interestingly enough, Kamala Harris won all of those sanctuary states that I listed above. Huh. Weird. And it is worth noting that she only won 7 other states out of the 50 that were not sanctuary states. And those states, again, familiar crowd: Delaware, Hawaii, Maine, Maryland, Minnesota, New Hampshire, and Virginia. What's going on over in those states, man? What the hell's really going on over there? Huh?
Yeah. All liberal. Yeah.
They live in nice neighborhoods. They don't have any problems, apparently. And they just think, yeah, this is great. We'll just keep having these illegals come in. You know what I think Trump should do, actually, with this illegal immigration thing? I think they should concentrate their efforts on the states that actually want the fucking illegals out first. Go to the states that actually are going to give them the low-hanging fruit. Hey, here's an illegal alien. Boom, you're gone. Load them up, launch them, and then deal with the liberal states later. I thought at first, oh, maybe they should just ship them all to the liberal states, and then they'd really see what they've done. But that's just going to enrich them even further, because really all they care about is votes. They just care about bodies that they can attach a ballot to. That's all they care about. Because if they didn't have that, they probably wouldn't be winning those states. If they didn't have people with their hand out, hey, we're going to give something to you for nothing. We're going to take it from that person over there that's actually earned the money, and we're going to siphon more from them and give it to you because you haven't done dick. right? So it's just, that's the way it is, man. And I guess that's a strong opinion.
Yeah, I guess I have my opinions on the handouts. I've expressed to you several times as far as the welfare program here. You get paid the same as minimum wage, and people end up living on that. So where's the incentive to go out and get a job? I think that should be some, at first you may not know if that person is that desperate or whatnot. So I'm not saying get rid of the program altogether, because there are people that maybe do need a hand up. But after 6 months, if those folks aren't going out and physically trying to get a job or whatnot, okay, well, we're going to take 25% of that pay and just whittle it away till pretty soon there's nothing left. I'm sorry, you didn't help yourself.
Right. But see, the that should tell you everything you need to know right there. You have a great plan. I like your plan. I think that would work. That would incentivize, incentivize people to actually go out there and to better themselves. But that's not what they want. They want to do and create this great society where they create housing projects and then put a bunch of black people in there and put them on welfare. That's what they did back in the 60s.
Yeah, well,
and they're doing that now with every other ethnic group that comes here looking for something for nothing.
That's not helping you.
No.
That's putting you down and stepping on you.
Yeah.
And you're going to like it.
But that's the whole thing, man. If you don't need them, then that's what they need. They want you to need them. They don't want you to be independent. They don't want you to stand on your own too. They don't want to teach you to be fiscally responsible and understand, hey, pay your bills, do this in life and you can succeed. Hey, do this and get your preps. They don't talk about any of that shit ever because they want to be the answer when things go bad. And they are always the one that create the situation where things are going bad.
They do. Well, their answer is not a solution either.
Right.
It's just a temporary fix to get what they want.
Yeah. London says that the states that claim sanctuary status should be cut off from receiving all federal monies. Yeah, I had said that, not on this broadcast, but I was talking to Rebecca and I had said that because I think that that would be very eye-opening, right? I think that's absolutely the direction they should go, and I think Trump's probably going to go there, to be quite honest, because he's not fucking playing with these people.
So one of the other things when I was talking about the whole welfare thing too is you get more money if you have a child.
Yeah.
That I think should just not happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As another incentive to.
Big B says, are you 2 years out from your governor's selection? Yeah, he's up for re-election in 2026. As I said before, he's probably going to step aside, let Kamala come in, and then he'll have full 2 years to basically distance himself from the policies of California while he's running his campaign. And he'll have the full support from George Soros and every other person that thinks, hey, he's the guy, and that's how that party works, man. That's how politics works. You don't get the chance to select the person. The person will be placed before you, and then it will be, this is who your candidate is. And we saw that with Bernie and Hillary. Mm-hmm. Bernie would have been the nominee. People liked Bernie. He was a populist, leftist, wingnut, but he had a lot of left-wing support, grassroots, and they said, nope, you're not the dude, man. And he basically shut up. And I mean, that was an eye opener for me. I was like, oh, wow, that was like right out in the open. Huh, trippy. Tried to do that kind of thing with Trump, but see, Trump never went away yet. He's still here. And I think that's what people like to see, is somebody who's a fighter. Mm-hmm. And that's why he garnered so much support, man. I'm telling you. So yeah, we tried twice. There's been 2 recalls on Governor Newsom. And like I say, that's why he's a politician that just won't go away. And I suspect if there's another enough signatures that get on and they get this thing on the ballot or whatever, I mean, it's not going to matter. It's just not going to matter. He's not going to be voted out. Forget about DERI. Oh, Delaware, Rhode Island, and Vermont. Found them in the change jar. Yeah. Yeah, these states, man, I don't know. The red counties majority in these blue states are getting persecuted. Yeah, red counties and majority blue states. Yeah, we're just not being represented very well. I mean, if you look at the California map, it's quite red, but it's all the populations, the numbers that they have in those metropolitan areas. For one, people that live in those areas typically are people that want handouts. They like security of government, and, they like to, not have to do for themselves. They like all their services and everything to just be right there. So that's more of a desire from people who are left wing, generally speaking. And it's just a lot easier to have people with problems in those areas. That's why when you go to places that are large cities, you see a lot of people with problems, drug problems on the street, and homelessness, and, mental illness and everything. And
till you get up in the hills where the mansions are.
Yeah, they're not affected at all. Yeah, I haven't heard him say that yet, London. He says that he says you'll own nothing and be happy.
I actually think that I have heard that.
I haven't heard him say that. One thing that I do know, though, and I feel fortunate, I feel optimistic about this, is because I'm just hearing so many people coming over to this idea of actually embracing the idea of let's make America great again. I know that the left tries to make it like, well, if you're saying that you want to make it America great again, that means you want to put people back in chains, and you want segregation, and you want all these things from the past that nobody's really saying anything about except the liberals. Nobody's advocating for that. What people are advocating for is let's make it great again from the standpoint of how it was when we were fucking kids. Maybe a generation ago. How about that? Where kids could go out on the street and didn't feel like they were going to be mugged by some homeless person. Mm-hmm. Or we didn't have illegal aliens, infiltrating into our communities and killing people. Or you could actually buy things on a single income, and both people didn't have to be outside of the home, and you sent your kids off to public school for 9 fucking hours of the day. Maybe that's the America that people want to see, brought back. And I think that's what a lot of people want. They just want common sense in politics, and they want some civility, and they don't want this left versus right. They don't want all this drama. They just want to live their fucking lives and be able to go to the beach and like take a vacation now and then, right?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of sad that we've gotten to this point, but I do feel like, things are starting to return a little bit to normal, and that people are coming around to this idea of feeling okay to say, hey, I supported Trump and I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. I think you've seen that with world leaders coming over and saying, hey, we want to negotiate.
We want to be your friend.
We want to have good relations with the United States. And you've even seen it with sports figures, and even some media has begun to show some support. And I don't know, have you heard that Bill Gates, right? Did you hear everybody's favorite software developer and vaccine expert is on the Trump train?
Wow.
You haven't heard that one? Well, check it out.
Look at this. Bill Gates has come out of the woodwork to congratulate President Trump and JD Vance on their victory, saying that America is at its strongest when we use ingenuity and innovation to improve lives here in the US and around the world. And also saying, I hope we can work together now to build a brighter future for everyone. And to nobody's surprise, the replies are turned off. Nobody can comment on this tweet. It's interesting that all of a sudden he wants to work together now when he just donated $50 million to the Kamala Harris campaign, saying this election is different. And I wonder if it's different because of what Elon Musk told Tucker Carlson. Listen to this.
If Trump wins, that Epstein client list is going to become public.
Yes.
And some of those billionaires behind Kamala are terrified of that outcome.
Yeah. Do you think Reid Hoffman's uncomfortable?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Gates.
And Gates.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know for sure if he's going to be on the list, but we do know that he's one of the billionaires that contributed to Kamala Harris's campaign. So I'll leave it up to you. What do you think his intentions are with that tweet? And what do you think is going to happen in the near future? As always, I want to hear down below.
I think he is on that list. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm going to withhold any comment until I see the list. I know there's been so much speculation about these lists and things, you know. I do think that there'll be some movement on the JFK assassination thing, with Bobby Kennedy being in there and Trump being in there with nothing to lose moving forward. I think he's made that as a promise that, you know, they're going to release that information. And whether the Epstein list thing comes out, I mean, we'll see. We'll wait and see. If it happens, it'll be interesting, man, because there's going to be a lot of like a lot of interesting things that might develop from that.
Yes.
But
could be quite damaging.
Yeah, I think so. Let's go with, okay. Dean Mullis says, our Republican black candidate for governor here in North Carolina got blown out of the water. That was a very odd campaign. Yeah, I don't know, man. There's a lot of good people from all ethnic groups that are very sharp and going to be probably good politicians, but it's just weird how that if you're conservative and you're black, liberals seem to attack you as if you're not legitimately qualified to speak on the matter because you don't have this victim mentality. Those that seek to distance themselves from being victims and don't align themselves with racial politics and racial identity are the ones that seem to be cast aside. So I don't know if that's what happened in that election, but I don't know. Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, why don't you answer that question, Rebecca? I'm going to step away for just a second. Can you read it?
I cannot.
Read it over here. I'll be right back. You gotta read it.
I know. I'm the world's worst. Sorry about that. I'm the world's worst at reading. So as far as the illegals, I would agree that they need to be sent back. Some of your field workers, however, I think are probably some of your hardest workers. But yeah, I believe that anybody that's here illegal needs to be sent back and come through the correct way. Not that we don't want to have people come to our country, but they need to come through the right process, the right vetting. So I don't know if I answered that correctly or not, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm sure you did. Oh, sorry about that, guys.
Sorry, that sounded terrible.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. Let me jump into this did you know question, or excuse me, this did you know video. And I think this is interesting. Rebecca has a little something to add to it from the standpoint of old school. And this is something that I actually didn't know. Check it out.
Considered completely normal in the past. Boys wearing dresses. Until the early 20th century, it was normal for young boys around age 6 or 7 to wear dresses or gowns. This practice, called breeching, was common because dresses were easier for potty training and practical for children. coal as a cleaning agent. Coal was not only used for heating, but also as a cleaning agent. People used coal dust to scrub floors and remove stains from various surfaces. Fainting rooms for women. During the Victorian era, homes were often built with fainting rooms for women. This was because women commonly wore tight corsets that restricted their breathing, causing them to faint frequently. Separate entrances for men and women. Many public buildings, including schools and churches, had separate entrances for men and women. This practice was based on strict social norms regarding gender segregation. Showering once a month. In the 18th and 19th centuries, it was common for people to bathe or shower only once a month. Frequent bathing was thought to be unhealthy and could even lead to illness.
Yeah. Did you have anything to add to that?
As far as, did you know?
The dress thing with your dad?
Oh, the dress? Yes. Yeah, my dad wore a dress. I have baby pictures of him and he's in a dress.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
I never knew why. I just figured that's the way they dressed him.
well, that is the way they dressed him, but it's interesting that that was more widely accepted back then. And now it's like, you know, obviously we don't do that, but it had a practical use, you know, that made sense. So just kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. You think Bill Gates is jumping ship? Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of thinking that, you know, I mean, why did Zuckerberg come out and say what he said 2 months ago, put that letter out basically saying, hey, Biden like forced me to do this. And the Department of Justice forced me to suppress information regarding Hunter Biden's laptop. The FBI told him that he should do that, coming from the Biden administration's Department of Justice.
But do you think they're sincere?
Who's sincere?
Zuckerberg and Gates.
I don't think.
Do you think them wanting to work with Trump is sincere?
It's only sincere in the sense that they know it's in their best interest. That's why there's sincerity there. It's not they're sincere because they really wanted this as the outcome, that they're happy about this. They just realize, hey, this is what it is. And so I'm sincerely wanting to work with you because I know it would be in my best interest, not anybody else's. That's the sincerity. So yes, I think they're sincere.
Right. I think they want to get into the inner circle.
They're not going to be in the inner circle, and they know that. They just don't want to they want to make
keep
it
their
less
dirty
painful.
lies covered up.
Yeah,
they want to do.
Yeah, I suppose, you know, in some way. I mean, I don't know what all their motivation is, but understand it's motivated by their own interest, right?
Well, I think Bill Gates is a weasel.
Do you?
Yes.
He's a rich weasel.
He is.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we're going to probably wrap it up, guys. We've been going for a minute here. We still we've got to eat, but I do have a clip of the week, and this will be kind of a sum things up for tonight. It's more or less just somewhat of a victory lap for all of the things we've really been talking about. I saw this video and I thought, oh, isn't this fantastic? This is exactly what I think people voted for, is to see some unity. So let's take a look at this.
Is going absolutely feral over what happened last night. Let me walk you through how Jelly Roll, Tulsi, Vivek, Kennedy, all these people are in one photo. The first picture of the night that we got yesterday was Trump and Kennedy on his plane watching the UFC fight. And shortly after that, we get this photo of Elon Trump, Don Jr., Mike Johnson, and Kennedy eating McDonald's. Mr. Kennedy, blink twice if you are being forced against your will. Okay, but in all seriousness, do we actually think he ate the McDonald's? But don't worry, Don Jr. posted saying, "Make America healthy again starts tomorrow." And then they showed up at the UFC fight, Dana White, Trump walking in with the rest of the crew. And as they walk in, the crowd goes absolutely wild.
In this room, it is so loud in here. It is so loud. Congratulations.
And he goes over and embraces Joe Rogan. Here's that photo. And we got this one where Trump is sitting right next to Elon, and we have Dream Team right behind them. And just sit on this for a second. All four of these people used to be Democrats. One of the least expected meet and greets was Jelly Roll meeting Trump, which leads us to mega group photo of Vivek, Jelly Roll, Kid Rock, Tulsi, Mike Johnson, Kennedy, Don Jr., and I'm sure there's more. But we are all wondering one thing. What meme did Elon Musk see? The world may never know. The internet.
Yeah, so I thought that was a pretty interesting exchange over this past day or so when they all showed up to the UFC fight. And it showed them being very happy, and it showed a lot of unity amongst the people that he's assembling for his team or his cabinet, if you will. And I think that's probably got to have the liberals in the media just fucking frying. They can't stand to see a developing bromance among all of these people. And, the point is that they all used to be Democrats. We've said that before. And I heard somebody say, oh, well, do we need a Joe Rogan? Don't we need a Joe Rogan? Because, Trump went on Joe Rogan and got like 50 million views or something from the interview where he sat down for 3 hours. And the stupid liberal was asking, don't we need a Joe Rogan? And it's like, Joe Rogan used to be a fucking liberal. He used to be a Democrat. He voted for Obama. But they've strayed so far from sanity that people have just walked away from that. And, writ large, very important and powerful people. Make no mistake about it, Gavin Newsom, our illustrious governor, drove both Joe Rogan and Elon Musk away from California. That's how brilliant that guy is. Two very powerful people, influential, that could be an adversary, or could be an asset, but he's turned him into an adversary. And it's amazing to me that, they're just now starting to wake up and they're seeing people celebrating. They were getting fired up. The NFL's getting fired up because they're out there doing the Trump dance. The dudes that are scoring touchdowns are doing this Trump dance.
Awesome.
And I think they're starting to hey, you can't do that. What the fuck you mean I can't do that? What I can't celebrate? I can take a knee like Colin Kaepernick, and that's okay. I can turn my back on the fucking flag, but I can't get out there and do a Trump dance. Man, I would be so not good with that. I'd have to be willing to whore myself out and say, well, I guess I'm going to just keep my mouth shut and take my millions, even though they're censoring me. I guess I'd have to do that, wouldn't I? Or would I just say, hey, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to do what I do, and you can find me. Just like Michael Jordan did. When they told him, oh, no, you can't wear number 23 because we retired that. You know what Mike did? He wore 23, and he got fined every time he wore it. I'm Michael Jordan. I wear whatever I want. You can find me if you want, but I'm going to play basketball.
So I have to give a shout out to Empty Knives.
Yeah.
Yes. This is one of my favorite sweatshirts.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Patrick? How you doing? Hey, I want to just thank everybody for hanging out with us for a little bit tonight. We've been on here for a minute, and we've been, talking about some different things, homesteading. We've been talking about some things that are just going on with us in our lives. And we've been talking about some of the lunacy that we've all been witnessing over the course of these past number of years. And I just hope everybody is going to stay safe this upcoming holiday season.
Keep your preps in order.
Keep your preps in order. And I hope everybody has a fantastic Thanksgiving, because I'm very much looking forward to that. And I think that's what we wish for everybody here. So again, guys, thanks for hanging out with us for a bit. And congrats again, Patrick, on your marathon, dude. You're a stud. So
yeah, awesome.
Good looking out.
Have a great evening.
Okay. Night.
Good night.